Good morning. Heidi Oropesa with Florida You Judge. And today we got a really, really good show. We have Connie Burton coming on as a guest, speaking about a very important story that just was published by some local outlets as to CRA monies and East Tampa. But first, I have attorney Bradshaw, Peter Bradshaw.
Hey,
Hey, good morning.
good morning.
I thought your name was Deuce.
So that's how everybody knows me, who's in the community. I got a nickname in college, and it kind of just stuck because of Facebook. And
It's a nice one. I like Deuce. So, good morning. Thanks for jumping on real quick. I know that you have a big event with one of our colleagues who you work with, along with Josh Sheridan.
yep,
He's a incredible guy, incredible, great attorney, great fighter in the in a lot of areas, but legally he's a fighter. And I love his wife, Dina Sheridan. She's an amazing human being. And so I'm glad that you're on. Could you want to promo what you all got going on and when it's going to happen and where?
yeah. So next weekend, December 9th, at Signature Punch Training Center in Ybor, Florida, Joshua Sheridan, my boss, is going to let me punch him in the face over and over again.
I wish I could have that ability. I don't have a boss right now. My boss is the Lord because I'm a solo practitioner. Thank God I can work for myself. But in the past, when I've worked for some bosses, I wish I could have had this opportunity.
I mean, it's really exciting to get to do it. Number one, number two, Josh and I both are about the same size wise, and so it was perfect. It started off as like an idea of a weight loss challenge, and then I was like, that doesn't sound nearly as fun as like I don't know, doing something martial. And he and I are both kind of blue belts in jujitsu. He's actually a full blue belt. I'm like right on that edge. And so we proposed jujitsu, but a friend of mine last year had done this event, and it's called Deck the Halls. And like I said, it's that Signature Punch Boxing Training Center in Ybor. It's going to start at 7:30, and basically all you have to do is bring a toy or a donation, and it's going to help PAL programs here in Tampa, as well as donating to Signature's foundation. They do a lot of things to try and get kids involved in boxing so that they have an outlet, especially if you've got like frustration, rage issues, things like that. It's great to be able to learn to control and discipline that and use it appropriately. And, you know, Josh and I are both fighters. I mean, I came up as a public defender. We like to fight in trial, but we also like to fight for kids, you know, in the courtroom. And this is an opportunity for us to kind of give back as well as doing something fun for us. So it was something that we put together in the sense of like getting our firm involved, getting Josh involved, and you know our tagline is "My Tampa Firm," and that goes beyond just the legal side of things. But you know, Dina Sheridan, Josh himself, they came up in the Tampa Bay area. Josh is a St. Pete native. Dina's family is, Tampa native. And so when we say it's my Tampa firm, that means more than just, you know, hey, we're a law firm that's located in Tampa, but it also means like we want to give back to the community as well. And so this is an opportunity for us to do that in a way that's entertaining and, you know, really gets an opportunity for everybody to want to come out and, and just join the event. And it's going to be a really fun night. Like I said, I went to the one last year and it was a ton of fun. It was, you know, there's a lot of other matches that are going on that as well, a lot of amateur matches. And so for Josh and I think we're going to be doing about 2-minute rounds. And whoever gets best 2 out of 3 is going to win that, unless there's a knockout.
But you guys are going to actually really be fighting, right?
Oh yeah. Like we're headgear, like, so we've got to, because of the safety protocols, we have to wear headgear and stuff like that. But no, we're punching.
Oh,
This is
wow.
not a, this is not a light sparring match. This is, we get to go all out.
Oh, good. Okay, so what? So is that on a Saturday that
So
that's
it's
gonna happen?
next Saturday. So today's the second,
Right.
and it'll be 7 days from now, December 9th. And I'm not sure exactly what time we're going on, but both Josh and I will be, you know, taking each other on.
And so whoever goes, they can donate with money or they can bring toys.
Yeah.
Okay, great. You know, and this is very important too because a couple of weeks ago there was a broadcast where Stephanie Pointer and Daryl Heisch they spoke about we were with Luke Leroux. You know Luke Leroux,
Yep.
attorney Luke Leroux. So they were talking about the Ebor shootings, and they were talking about, and I followed up with inquiry about what other outlets other than Ebor are available, and this seems to be one of the alternatives of a good outlet for young people to go and to become involved with. One of the sponsors is a training.
Yeah,
Um,
so Signature Punch is the local organization that's sponsoring the event. They have a full ring set up, and they're doing it in their training center. They have things like open sparring. They have classes. They have coaches. They're I want to say it's called WCA, but I might be wrong about that. But they are a full like Olympic boxing organized organization. So they follow things to the letter. It's not some, you know, gym that you go to and you just throw hands for no reason. Like they actually take it very seriously, and it's a beautiful place to train at. I've got to spar there a couple of times. Um, I'm working with some guys from South Tampa Jiu Jitsu. Shout out to Mike Visa. He is my main coach, and then Klein Wong is my assistant coach, and they're going to be cornering me on that event. And then Josh has the guys out of Tampa Muay Thai. They're also located near downtown Tampa, and they're going to be cornering him. And they've been training him, getting ready for the event. I've been training since late August for this. I mean, we're putting in 3 to 5 sessions a week with my coach to try and get
wow.
ready, because I'm not really a boxer. Like I've never this is my first time like doing a full boxing match. Trained a little in karate and jiu-jitsu, but this is the first time learning the sweet science of boxing.
Wow. How about Josh? Has he done
Josh
any
came,
boxing?
yeah, so Josh came up in St. Pete near the Ringside Boxing Gym, and then that turned into the Ringside Cafe. So he's got a lot of like experience in doing it. So he's got a bit of an upper hand on me. So I do not take him lightly, no matter how much he's trained or how little he's trained, whatever,
He's big.
one
He's a big
punch.
guy.
Yeah,
He's a big guy. Yeah.
I'm like maybe an inch shorter than him.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm happy to have promoted this. Who knows? I might show up and kind of cover it and do a play-by-play. Because it sounds like fun watching you two go at it.
It's going to be a blast, and the firm's sponsoring it as well. So feel free to stop by. All of our paralegals and other attorneys are excited to see the two guys in the office go and beat each other up a little bit, especially because it's for a good cause too.
Yes. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for tuning in and dropping by to promo this really good event. And have a great rest of your Saturday, Peter.
Thanks, Haiti. I appreciate it, and thanks for the opportunity of letting us put this out there. And if you need to find any of us, Peter Bradshaw, mytampafirm.com is our website.
You know what?
And
Let's go. Let me go ahead and put that on now. How about
yeah,
that? So, hold on a second. Hmm.
it's just mytampafirm.com. We do family law. Yep.
mytampafirm.com. That is um the URL. Yes.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show that mytampafirm.com.
Yep, we do everything from family law to criminal to personal injury. We have 2 offices, one over in Henderson, one right north of downtown. So we're available for anything. And like I said, we like to fight stuff. We don't like to just plead everything out and roll over on everything. But obviously, there's a time and a place for each of those. So we're down
So
for it.
I'm happy. I'm happy to promote one of my competitors locally. I'm a fighter too, but you guys are good, salt of the earth. So I'm
Hey,
happy to promote you all. I know Josh and Dina. They do fight. I know Josh
yeah,
is a fighter, and he speaks out. Sometimes I've seen him speak out publicly on things that most of our colleagues would rather shy away from and not rock the boat. But Josh has come on and spoken on public matters, justice matters that are important. So
yeah.
I'm happy to promote his firm.
We're happy to do it. I mean, there's always conflicts that happen in the sense of like, professional responsibility stuff. So it's nice to always have an alternative as well.
Of course, totally, absolutely. Okay, well, you have a great Saturday, Peter. Thanks for dropping by.
You too. Take care. Bye.
Okay, so now we have the latest, newest team member with Florida You Judge, my friend, colleague, in uh, activism, Keela McCaskill, and also the very well known community activist Connie Burton. I bring her on regularly. Why? Because she doesn't pull punches. She just calls balls and strikes. And so we're gonna talk today. Today is scheduled. I didn't promote it, but I did want to talk about this because we're gonna be talking about former councilman Joe Citro. Um, and before we do, I'd like to make a suggestion to him. He was invited. I tagged him on social media twice and invited him to come on and speak about this issue. But he has a post, a Facebook page that has him representing himself as he's still a councilman, and he's not. I think that's misleading. It was brought to my attention by someone in the community who actually lives in Tampa. Has been living in Tampa for perhaps her whole life, but she brought this to my attention, and I think former councilman Joseph Citro should update this and clarify that he's no longer a city councilman. He lost his seat this year, early 2023, and the new councilman in that district is Alan Clendenin. When he ran against Joe Citro, won that seat, and so I would recommend that Joe Citro, so that there's no misleading information, that he would correct that. Somebody needs to do something about that. So let's go ahead and show the recent Spectrum News coverage that I saw while I was watching the news, and I thought, wow, wait a minute. 2 years ago, Connie and myself, we had Joe Citro on a broadcast because I wanted to make inquiry as Connie. Connie is a resident of East Tampa. And we wanted to ask questions about, he made a representation, and let's just show a clip. I want this to be facts and facts only, no commentary. Connie will be able to weigh in, and Keela as well. But for right now, let's show facts. Facts here. Let's show a video clip of Joe Citro talking about a press conference he'd made January 21st of 2022, and then he goes into a community forum, Tea and Conversation, which is led by Candy Lowe's, the founder, and she has a great team that works along with her to have these regular Tea and Conversations every month. They're great. I've attended them. And the community should continue to attend these. These are great events to go and interact with and hear people in office or people who want to be in office, what they have to say to the community. He went after a press conference. He went and talked about the press conference, and that there was money that was available to East Tampa residents. Let's hear him.
I was at a press conference yesterday, and I'm going to say there's wonderful things happening in East Tampa. The CRA has funds now to help homeowners where their house may need some rehabilitation, some remodeling, some grants. We're having gentrification in the city because homeowners in lower income neighborhoods can't afford to fix their homes. So a developer walks in and gives them a check, and that check is the most money they've seen.
Thank you.
So they take that, but they move out of the community. They can't stay in the community. They can't afford it anymore. CRA program is helping to keep those people in their house, which is not gentrification. Again, my name is Joseph Citro.
Okay, so he's saying, look, he's going to an event, Tea and Conversation, that is in the Black community. Most of the attendees are residents that are Black persons, and they want to know what's going on and how they're being affected, their communities are being affected. And so he's there saying, hey, we got money. We got $2.5 million that you can dip into to help you rehab your home. Here's another thing that's important. He has talked, Candy, to her credit, she asked the same question that me and Connie asked when we broadcasted with him February 2022, a month later after he made this press conference that we're going to see a clip of now in a second, we asked the same thing that Candy Lowe asked: how do the people get the money, especially elderly people who might not know how to navigate the system to get the monies that you're telling us, or telling the community, East Tampa in particular, how to get their money if they need rehab to prevent gentrification. Gentrification's a bad thing. Gentrification is when people that have lived in that community for a very long time, sometimes their whole life, are pushed out by the very thing that he was explaining. So here's Candy asking him, how do these folks, how do they know how to get this money?
I don't know how the CRA gets the information to the public. I never know that answer. If they are able to put a little ad or something in the Florida Sentinel at least once a week, because our elderly people still read the newspaper, they get that and they need help at their home. If there's a $45 ad or something that they can put in there every single week to let the people know that the money is available, because they don't know.
We are right.
They said no.
I'm sure
We already put it out there to them.
Who said no?
You guys.
That's wrong.
No,
Sorry.
it's not wrong.
Well, I'm not to play that game, but no, it's wrong. We are trying to get our own people to do our own Facebook, our own Twitter, and everything. Police department has it, fire department has it, solid waste has it, the mayor has it. Why does the city council CRA? Candy, I'm taking your advice and making sure that the Sentinel and long as that can have just something, maybe once a month.
Once a month, let people know that those funds are available. We have people in the community that need a roof, they need windows, or whatever. Whatever is in that downline for that money.
And that's coming.
And that's coming. And that has, I don't think that's ever come. I've never seen it. He was invited to come on. Joseph Citro, former councilman, because he's not in office anymore, okay? And I wouldn't vote for him. I wouldn't recommend anybody to vote for him, because this is a man that comes out and then uses a black man as a political prop. That's my opinion. Now, this is opinion. It's not fact. To say there's all this money, but not only is there no money, no one's gotten any money, but 2 years, we're 2 years out from this promise that he made, a broken promise. And this man still, who was promised to have his roof fixed, still not fixed, and he has a $20,000 lien. So Spectrum News, good on them. They went ahead and did a follow-up so that the community knows. This is something that this former councilman promised the community, came out to promote himself. And he's been doing a lot of stuff other than the follow up on what he said that he was going to do. Let's go ahead and watch the follow-up now on Spectrum News, of a clip of that, and the follow-up on what former councilman Joseph Citro promised, and it's been unfulfilled. Hold on a second here. Let me go ahead. Something happened here with the. I am going to do a quick share here. Let me see here. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go find that. I'm gonna be behind the scenes. I want Connie. Can you start weighing in along with Keela?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me here today. Let me just start off by saying that East Tampa has a long history of struggle But on top of just the struggle, it has been and continue to be a beautiful community with residents that are determined to preserve the historical nature of the Black community. And with so much that has been gentrified in the city of Tampa, East Tampa is probably one of the last remaining hubs where we have a large Black population that remain intact. Not the only one, but a large portion of it. What's significant about East Tampa is that the East Tampa CRA was the very first that was created in the state of Florida. And so it is about 20 plus years old. And a 20 plus year history of the state of Florida being adopted by the city of Tampa to establish.
Residents in East Tampa say.
To establish the CRA, we should have seen significant improvement by now. We recognize that with any startup programs, there are starts and then sometimes setback. But 20 years into this process, we should be able to say at this particular time that East Tampa has been able to build a significant amount of progress within 20 years, that the community would be able to say that the CRA is progressive. It is doing what the community wanted to do. It is doing what it was intended to do in terms of reducing blight, poverty, deterioration, restoring hope and opportunity for the community that's there.
Okay, so Keila, you know what? I think I was able to queue up the thing. Let's just go ahead and see the follow-up coverage on this.
Are frustrated with what they're calling a broken promise. Back in January of 2022, the East Tampa Community Redevelopment Agency, or CRA, announced $2.5 million in grant funding that would benefit residents who needed to undergo home rehabilitation projects. Here's a look back at that news conference announcing that initiative.
It has been the mission of the mayor and of city council to make sure that our communities are taken care of. And through the CRA TIF funds, it's the purest form of democracy. We start with the community, then we go to the boards, then the boards come to the CRA chair. We are focused, laser focused on our communities, all the way from the mayor to our CRA staff to city council, code enforcement, police, fire, We are laser focused on our communities, and we want to help keep it that way with our CRAs. Our CRAs are the best in this state, and we want to keep moving Tampa forward.
Well, the problem now is that project appears to be stalled. One man who was at that announcement, Ernest Braxton, you see him here. He spoke with Spectrum Bay News 9's Fadia Patterson this afternoon, and she joins us now live from Tampa. And Fadia, what is the city of Tampa saying about all this?
Hey there, Rick. Good evening. Ernest Braxton says not much has changed since that announcement has been made. Take a look just behind me at the condition of his roof. It's something that he's been dealing with for the last 2 years. Meanwhile, the city says they are looking into the issue.
Tore up the whole roof over there.
Ernest Braxton's home was destroyed when a tree fell on his roof just over 2 years ago.
And it went into the house.
That forced him out of the home he and his late wife of 50 years lived in since 1988. To avoid being fined by code enforcement, he wiped out much of his savings to remove the tree and other debris.
If I got to get people to help me to move stuff out of the house.
He had hopes of returning once the home was repaired, especially since the East Tampa Community Redevelopment Corporation and the city of Tampa announced that TIF dollars, that's public funding by taxpayers, would be spent to assist homeowners like Ernest in 2021.
They made certain promises that they were going to help me to do things, but I haven't got anything.
Upon a successful application, homeowners could be awarded up to $40,000 for home repairs from a pool of $2.5 million. The program was supposed to kick off in March of 2021, but residents say it never happened. And to this day, they're still waiting to apply.
They're still going through the process. They hired a new CRA director.
Executive Director of the Central Economic Development Center, Allison Hewitt, says the program has been delayed since a restructuring took place within the East Tampa Community Redevelopment Corporation, and the city is involved in those changes.
I think the only bit of challenge between what the city program normally is and what we asked is that we asked that there will be a third party to be able to work with the seniors with the application. They say they intend on having meetings with the community to.
Anyways, other than pandering, Joseph Citro pandering to the black community, and using a black senior citizen for his own promotion politically, because at that time when this is happening, he's up for re-election in 2023. This is in 2022, and in 2023 he's up for re-election. Other than pandering and promoting himself, what has he done, Keela? And he was the CRA chair, I believe. Yes? Yeah? For East
He
Tampa.
was the CRA chair
For that
for
area.
East Tampa.
Okay?
He was
I
the
think
CRA
he
chair
was
for East Tampa.
twice. He had a chance to rotate in that position twice. As chaired, each of them have 1 year to bring forth the ideas, suggestions of the community, and to see them implemented. So we would say that at Joe Citro's second term, he would be considered a senior chair because he's had an opportunity to hear it as well as lead the discussion to see that the implementation was indeed taking place.
I just in this situation, there's some backdrop that's not shared. I can say to you with certainty that on that day, and I'm no fan of Joseph Citro by far, but on that particular day, Citro wasn't aware of what was going to take place that morning. None of those city council members, as a matter of fact, they found out like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock the day before. And so my concern with this is that, like Ms. Connie said, for 20 years, the wishes and desires of the community members in East Tampa, it's almost as if we were unheard. Nothing that they requested happened. And so after sitting for a couple of years and seeing that nothing they said, nothing they asked for was moving forward, I decided to try and make an effort to where I can grab the attention of the community. You already had committed volunteers. They've been sitting on this board 20 years trying to help, like in the community for 20 years working. So I said, I want to do something, the low-hanging fruit, right? I wanted to try to find a way to clean up the areas that they're talking about. So I said the best way to get the attention of the city or these quote unquote decision makers is to try to do like a cleanup, but it's going to be hosted by the community. We're not going to ask them for nothing. We're just going to go in and do it, right? So I then built a relationship with code enforcement. They identified seniors. Hence, that's where Mr. Braxton comes from. So I'm just trying to give you some context. Mr. Braxton comes in. We do 2 cleanups for Mr. Braxton. By the second time we do it, the CAC now joins us in participation. They contributed. So now city council's involved. City council, code enforcement, and the fire department, we all go help Mr. Braxton. The city's media people were there. They followed up after the cleanup in December 2021. They followed up in January 2022 to say, hey, we were at the cleanup. We saw the condition of Mr. Braxton's home. Do you mind if we go to this house and try to help him? We're going to launch our owner-occupied rehab program. So initially, I felt great. They were coming to offer this man this program on his doorstep, like at his front door. They're going to launch this program. They hired a new person, housing. They launched her job and her new history or new role and the program on this man's doorstep. A lot of time has gone by. I've reached out just about every quarter for an update. What's happening with Mr. Braxton? We got new leadership. got rid of the woman that wasn't doing anything, brought in somebody else. Most of the staff that was there was not equipped to run a housing program. So we heard every excuse, like every single excuse possible as to why the program didn't happen. Finally, we requested a program, and what we were told was if we do it the way the city, the administration tells us to do it, it'll happen faster. So in May, they told us we'll get the program in October. Now, mind you, it's supposed to happen in 2022. We're in 2023. It's supposed to, in May, they're telling us it'll happen in October. In October, they're telling us it'll be January. So we're 2 years in. And on that day, the media for the city of Tampa coordinated this press conference, then invited city council, then invited whoever else they wanted to invite, and 15 media outlets. They came there to launch that program. And on that day, they told the chair what, he could say a few words. She coordinated and said the other council members can say a few words. Literally, the city dictated that day, like they took over. I refused to get in the camera because what I didn't hear was when it was going to start. I didn't hear, here's an application. I didn't hear any of that. By that time, I was furious because I felt like they used the man, and then you use me. He trusted me to come do those 2 cleanups, and I trusted that they would do what they were supposed to do by letting you come back to this man's home. So in this story, I'm going to say Citro had this much. When I say this much, he literally just showed up. He found out the day before and that day what they were doing. But even when they got there, the city's team coordinated who's saying what and when on that day. Unfortunately,
do you know that when I invite persons to come on a broadcast to talk about, weigh in about something, and some of my colleagues, you know what they tell me? They're like, look, you know what? I got to get up to speed. I got to know what we're going to talk about, and I got to kind of read up and get up to speed before I come. So I understand what you're saying, and good on you that you're trying to show a full picture. But you don't go on to something of this caliber to make a representation. And so even if he didn't know, let's say he said, well, I said that, I didn't know. He's the chair of the CRA. He's on city council. And does he know now? Because it's been 2 years. Does he know now? And what has he done since knowing, and since this coming on a local major news outlet here locally? What has Joe Citro done? I'll tell you some of the things that he's done. Because he continues, and I spoke to Connie right before we went on the broadcast. He's not, what did he say? Because that's why people lose faith in politicians. They don't trust them in government. Because of the very thing classically here that Citro does, blah, blah, blah. He wants to promote himself. Oh, look, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then it doesn't happen. And then he wants to use the man as a prop here next to, look at how good I am, the white savior. We're going to come help you, sir. And he wants to use him as a prop. And the man, 2 years later, there's nothing. And he has a $20,000 lien to boot on top of all of this. So look at what he's been doing, Joe. This is his personal page. He's here. This was 2 days ago. Tampa Sports Center. Then we have here, congratulations to the Bike Tampa, da-da-da-da. Here we have steak night, yay, 2 days ago. Rotary Club, he has time to do that. Because like Connie said, he's campaigning. He's in campaign function now mode to hopefully line up another gig as a government public servant. Here we go. He has just finished the major motor enclave with Economic Club of Tampa. Here we go, the Christmas tree lighting. Merry Christmas. To turn out at tonight's Tampa Police Department's town hall meeting was amazing. He's doing that, attending the McDill Avenue Town Hall, doing that. Congratulations on this. I'll look at all these events with the school board. Hillsborough County, he did an 8-hour evening. He put an 8-hour evening shift because he was given a certificate for his dedication in becoming a citizen, doing the Citizen Academy. That was a 4-week endeavor, and on and on and on and on. But what has he done with the promise that's why it's not me, this is not me, but Bay News 9 called this broken promises, a broken promise. He promised something. He said this was gonna receive laser focus. Laser
Oh,
focus. And it's the purest form of democracy. And this man, what's happened to this man? Go, Connie.
so, and I, do not stand in no protectionist form of that councilman. But the city and the full responsibility of a CRA and the African community not being able to progress at the speed that it need to, the pyramid starts at the top. The pyramid starts at who controls the budget, who controls the city staff, who give direction and leadership, who has a relationship with developers. And so while the council, Joe Citro, before I would just say it rests upon his shoulder, the African community continued to come out and vote for political leadership to represent its interests in District 5. We also take a greater vote in saying who we want to represent us as the mayor of the city of Tampa. And so we have a combination of all this political activity, all of this political leadership. And yet at the end of the day, and at the end of 20 years, we're still here.
Right.
We have had, a variety of CRA chairs. I have been a chair once for 1 year, trying to accelerate and push, only to find, massive roadblocks. People that even had the unwillingness, unknowledgeableness, or just didn't have the power to make anything happen for East Tampa. And so now where we find ourselves as we go into year 21, we've had a mayor that has been reelected. Prior to her, we had Bob Buckhorn that had 8 years to lead its CRA, the Black community toward prosperity. It has not. 4 years of Dane Castor, we have not seen to the level of having an understanding that we sit in the midst of a major humanitarian emergency. We've had Frank Reddick as our former city council person for 8 years, followed by Councilman Orlando Gould. 8 plus 4 is 12. And we still are stuck. And so now the question has to be, is it intentional that East Tampa is waste until it is completely gentrified up under the leadership of, say, white control, that Black folks will be forced out of East Tampa because of the deterioration of homes, resources that are there to help available lots that can be built on to give alternative housing models. I mean, the mayor ran her whole political campaign on transforming Tampa today, tomorrow, and for the future. And what we've seen is a continuation of political pandering. So it is a continuation starting at the top of the present political administration of the mayor, followed by her whole economic development and housing program that she feels, that she, the mayor alone, feels will be the betterment of East Tampa as it fits into the groove and the direction of the city of Tampa.
And the big piece of that, I so agree with Ms. Connie. And what I'm saying is, we gonna have to engage with these politicians a little bit different, because I'm seeing where, they had a CAC meeting that Ms. Connie was just recently a part of, and they were sharing all the concerns that they had with some of the changes, because they're in the middle of a restructure, right? They're restructuring. This is probably their third time trying to do some type of restructure, but they're in the middle of a restructure. And I researched the people that came on board. I know that they went and got the best and the brightest when it comes to development. The people know what they're doing, right? The $31 million budget. East Tampa has a strong, committed base that does vote. May not be a whole lot of votes, but they vote. And that vote matters when you're trying to run for various positions. So we got people that vote. We got people that participate. They committed and they volunteer. The administration hired the best and the brightest. And on top of that, Tampa is in the middle of some great marketing. It's one of the greatest cities per Forbes, one of the greatest cities to live in the state of Florida. So what's missing? What do we have to do? Do we have to just do what Jane wants us to do? What do we have to do for Tampa, East Tampa, to be mixed in with some of this greatness? They were at a meeting recently sharing what they wanted. What happened? There's confusion. They can't seem to move forward. Some of the things that they communicated didn't quite make it to those elected officials. And I'm convinced that typically the elected officials listens to the staff. The staff tells them whatever's taking place. I want that to stop. I need for these elected officials not to be lazy. I need them to prep themselves, contact these people that sit at this table in East Tampa for their wishes, what they want, mixed in with what the staff and legal says can and cannot happen. And we're not accepting roadblocks no more. We're not accepting what you can't do. Give us what we want in terms of what we can do, mixed in with everything else, because that's the only way we're going to get what we want. Even if Jane doesn't want to help East Tampa, you could be forced to do that, because there's power in unity. There's power in numbers. There's power in what we can do. And I don't think we've utilized that yet to the fullest. They wouldn't even tell the truth about the meeting that Ms. Connie had on November 7th. When they got to city council, you would have thought Ms. Connie and that board was in love with the restructure had you not seen that video. And then when I start saying, hey, we need transparency and accountability, the video showed them a different message. What they said, the robust discussions, we had great conversations, the community is aware, turns out to be a lie. So we need to figure out a way to engage with them differently. We're not accepting that lazy public servant that they've been previously. And in this area, one of the things that we're lacking is representation. We don't even have a representative that represents the people. We have a newly elected city council member. And Ms. Connie, have they been to a meeting?
No.
Have they showed up anywhere in terms of the CAC that governs what happens in East Tampa, that big 7.5 square miles? Have they done any of the partnership meetings? They have been missing.
When you say they, are you talking about Alan Clendenin?
Okay, so Clendenin is I believe he's citywide. He came to Jackson Heights.
Talking about?
Oh, so he's one. We could say he's one.
All right.
He's citywide. He came to Jackson Heights when he was running. We ain't seen him. No sighting. Gwen Henderson was voted in. She got 86 votes over Councilman Orlando Goulds. She was elected. We expect, whether we vote for you or not, we expect you to represent the district you're paid to represent. Instead, she had her job over there. She had her job, no representation, can't make the meeting. And another thing we're saying going forward for all of them, which only one of them does this, we don't want your aide to come. Only you were elected to represent this area. You come. Don't send your aide to come represent in a role. You being paid to represent as a public servant in East Tampa, and you have not done that. So we're serving notice going forward. We're going to engage with y'all different. So if the media is where we can get some action and make some things happen, then maybe we need to engage with them publicly in the media. What are your thoughts, Jane, on this broken promise? I want to give an update. Mr. Braxton is in process for a renovation. A replacement home, yes, as opposed to renovation. So the city did update and say that they went ahead and agreed to put him through the process to see if that home could qualify for replacement. And so the city of Tampa has always, or not always, but last year they did 3. And so because we're going in 2024, I'm sure the city of Tampa will add in how many are they going to do this year. And Mr. Braxton will go through the process to see if we cannot get him into a replacement home. And so
What
he's
does that
got
mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?
So the
Replacement
owner occupied rehab is one program. Ms. Connie, when she was chair, they were pushing for the owner occupied rehab real hard. But one of the things that came up under you, right, Ms. Connie, was the replacement homes.
Right.
And at the time, they were looking for homes to consider to replace because it might exceed the $80,000 that could repair the home, because his home has sat for almost 2 years. Water, rain, mold, animals, and everything else in there. It's better to try to replace it versus repair.
It will exceed way above the rehab costs.
Yes.
And so there's resources. But let me point to another greater issue, Haiti. And I want to again thank you so much for always allowing, me and members of our community to utilize Florida You Judge, because our issues get mired into like we are not clear on what we want.
Right.
Like we sit in a massive bowl of confusion. And when the community see the pain that exists, when we see the high unemployment of Black youth in our community, and we attempt to try to address that, the unemployment issue, recently, very unfortunate. We had the killing, violence in Ybor City, and immediately we saw the city, all arms of departments come to figure out how to bring about that situation to some type of solutions. Well, the community of East Tampa have been talking about these issues for so long, until it had just worn down a large percentage of the population, as if the ignorance of this problem is something that some have accepted, that this become a way of life. Then it is those of us in the community that is always kicking, always struggling, always attempting to address these issues, to hold the political powers to be accountable. Part of my next work that I'm engaged in is to inform the community of how to utilize our political power, how to use our power that, of course, the mayor cannot run again. We don't know if she has other political aspiration, if she's going to run for higher office, will she become a consultant? But what about members of that city council that sit on that board right now? We have at-large members, and then we have that person that represents our interests. But all of them is aware. And we have families throughout the city of Tampa. It has to be known by our community and by the members of this city of Tampa, those that refuse to address the most vulnerable populations and community when there's resources to address these issues, should not be fit for another seat in no office, whether they decide to go to state, federal, county, that if they cannot address issues that is in front of them on the local level, that the community comes week after week to address through city council meetings, then why would we vote for them to go, say, to a county commission when there's a complete ignorance of human dignity? And I think that's where we should address these issues. Joe Citro had been part of the problem, and you see what happened? The community say no more to Joe Citro. And we have to be in the same vein of those that do not see this as a state of emergency, will not address the long-term blight inside of the Black community, would ignore the cry, the plead, the demands of the community to utilize the resources to turn rehab, address, find ways to make these agencies that are giving tons and tons of money to address the issue of high Black unemployment. We don't need you to go and do any more damage. So we have to set the tone that while you might see us as one solo person, we have the ability to address our base, and our base respect us in more ways than what they think they don't.
Correct.
And so that is my mission, to drive these points home politically, to say that all district members from 1 to 7 is to be held accountable for the lack of progress in East Tampa, because all of them is aware. And as far as the mayor is concerned, she leads the charge, the cavalry. And if things are not moving, it is because the mayor do not want them, and we need the council to get on the side of the people.
Absolutely.
All right, so we have a caller, and Elvis Piggott is called in. Elvis, can
Hey,
you...
Elvis.
Hold on a second. Give me 1 second. I'm going to call you right back. Do you guys hear that noise?
Yes. Every week we get a chance to see the agenda. And when I look at that agenda, I look to see immediately in what way has the city staff, the mayor team, the John Bennett's looked at ways in which they can start implementing improvement to the quality of life in East Tampa. So it's not enough just to go and fix the roofs of the house. We're talking about restoring human dignity, is putting money toward human capital so we can change the full trajectory of what we see as an ongoing systemic problem in our community. So we are more politically mature than what they think we are, and we plan on being laser focused and campaigning for the next cycle of those individuals that want to move forward.
So Elvis, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
You're on.
Hey, Elvis.
Yes. So really, I mean, it's very disheartening. I mean, but this is nothing new, right? One, it's nothing new that the city council, whether that's all of our political figures, typically use the African American community as a platform to say, hey, look at what I've done or what I'm going to do. The disheartening part about it, I would say, is that Joe Citro did what he was known to do, and that was to put on a show, give promises, and never could deliver. I said it when he came to Tea and Conversations publicly. This is why I pushed my support around and behind Alan Clendenin. But I say to Alan Clendenin and the rest of the city council, you all know of the promises that was made when they had their press conference. They know what was said on behalf of the Black community. Alan Clendenin sits in that seat. Joe Citro, that's the reason he no longer occupies the seat, because the community and the voters saw through his pondering lies and deceit whenever he would do something. But Alan Clendenin is responsible now. The city council is responsible now to open their mouth and find out what they're going to do to make this right, because he was still acting on behalf of a city council member. And just because he's no longer in seat, it does not mean or take the responsibility off of those city councilmen that's sitting there to do right by this constituent. And I hope Alan Clendenin, and I hope that every one of them that sits there, Gwendolyn Henderson, these that occupy these seats and turn a deaf ear to the plea of this man saying, hey, what's happening 2 years later, that they make sure that they know we will not forget when election time is coming around. And I said it then, I'll say it now. To Alan Clendenin, I supported him because I knew Joe Citro was full of lies in this seat. But I can promise that if this is not addressed, Alan Clendenin, the same thing will apply. We need people that's going to do right by people. Forget the political Democrat Republican stuff. What's wrong with us getting in office and forgetting that we are human and how we should treat one another as people? This man's house has been damaged 2 years. None of them sitting on that city council would have lived in such condition, but expect everyone else to have to live in those conditions. So I'll say to the city council, hold the mayor responsible. I say to the mayor, hold city council responsible to take care of this man and get it done. Joe Citro, because of this and because of so many other things that he done, this is why he's no longer a city councilman. That's clear. And so we hope to keep him retired on every level of politics in our local government and anywhere else, because he don't deserve to serve.
Thank you, Elvis, for coming on telephonically.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so
Yeah,
this
there
is,
you have
this
it.
is this is let's go ahead with some of the comments. Mona Judge, who was in part of the clip that I showed where Candy Lowe was asking about how does this information come out, and then Joseph Citro said no, it's coming out through this, that, and Mona said no, she disputed that. She said no, that's not true, and he said yeah, it is.
She was a board member.
So listen,
And she was
if
a board member.
There's a credibility contest between Mona Judge and Joe Citro. Guess who I'm gonna be believing and not believing? I'm gonna be
Mona.
believing Mona. Okay, so and let's just play it real quickly again because it's important. Connie, me and you, we had a broadcast with Joe Citro. Did I not make inquiry like, okay, so I heard you say this on Tea and Conversation. How do we? Can I lend Florida You Judge as a information platform to get the word out? So how do they apply? What do they need to do? What forms do they need to? This is something.
I don't know how the CRA gets the information to the public. I never know that answer. If they are
And if Candy Lowe, who's been there for decades, doesn't know the answer to that, there's a problem.
I don't know how the CRA gets the information to the public. I never know that answer. If they are able to put a little ad or something in the Florida Sentinel at least once a week, because our elderly people still read the newspaper. They get that and they need help at their home. If there's a $45 ad or something that they can put in there every single week to let the people know that the money is available, because they don't know.
We are right.
They said no.
I'm sure.
We already put it out there to them.
Who said no?
You guys.
That's wrong. All
No,
right.
it's not wrong.
Good. Ron?
She said it's wrong. He said no, it's not wrong. I believe Mona. Between
Yeah,
those two.
so we
Mona
did
was a
not-
chair.
Yeah, we did not have a PR person to alert the community, and that continues to be a problem. Community not getting viable information, knowing when a resources is available. You know, there's a lot of attempts are being made now based on the chairperson that's over the housing. I don't know, Ms. Travis. What's her full department? What she lead? But I do respect her. I respect her conversation. I believe she have good intent, but she works for the mayor. And so, you know, I've matured enough to know where political power lies. And so while individuals in our community might, and staff might want to do wonderful things, have great experience in leadership, the buck stop and start with the mayor. And if the mayor vision for Black folks in East Tampa is based through the lens of her developer friends, that she see East Tampa as nothing but a haven of criminals, squalor that need to be deteriorated, then that might lend to why 8 years under Bob Buckhorn we couldn't get nothing done, followed by the first 4 years that we have not been able to do anything for the homeowners of East Tampa. And so our push is to ensure that our community is preserved, the resources for our community is utilized in ways in which the community wanted to be utilized for, and not with this big push out to gentrify our community or make it so damn expensive that the residents of that community that lived there when it was at its worst is not able to benefit when we have the resources and funds available now to make changes.
Okay, so Mona,
Yeah.
she made some comments during the our live broadcast. How long ago was that? And still haven't been put out yet. 2 years. And I appreciate, Connie, you saying you're not taking a protectionist stance with Citro and that he's no longer in office and the city's the one that. And you're right about those things. However, you're not in office, and when you advocate all the time, you use time of your time. He has platforms. He has a media platform, Facebook, social media, that he uses to promote himself. Look at what I'm doing here. He can certainly advocate because he was the face of the promise.
Right.
He took advantage of trying to jump on for a moment to pander and to promote himself. Oh, look how wonderful. Look at what we're doing. Da, 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 da. He hasn't had any follow through. He hasn't said anything. I have the odds are better for me to win the Mega Millions than for him to come on and own up to it and say, you know what, because I don't care about all the good things. There are good things. We're human. None of us are perfect. I don't walk on water. I make mistakes, but that's character. If it would have been my face on there and making that promise, I would have to say, you know what, we need to do better. Yes. I came on. I had little information. I was thrust in the thing. I went on something that I may have maybe taken a little bit of time before addressing it publicly, because now I'm bound to a promise that is my face, my name. So we have to do something. And I would forget as good as that is, the Citizen Academy with the sheriff, that's a good thing. Who knows, one day I might be interested in doing it too, to kind of see the inner workings and how stuff happens on the law enforcement side as a criminal defense attorney. It's a good thing. Look at all the things, the Rotary Club, that's all good things. But you know what? He needs to be expending his time on making this right. And even though he's not in office, but he wants to, certainly it appears, presumably wants to be elected again. He recently came out, he was eyeing a position on the county commission. Okay, then he withdrew because it seems that the blue team is heavily supporting Mariella Smith. But that's what he needs to be spending his time on, okay? As the chair, that's true. He should have known where they was in that process. That's true. That's
one of the things. That's part of the problem. The city, they've been able to be, and I'm using lazy as the term because I can't think of anything else. So no disrespect, but they've been lazy. It's different for people that this matters. They're passionate. They're aggressive about it. So we community people. But those city council members, when they're running for office, we're competent enough for you to come hear what we have to say. Once you get in that seat, you start listening to the staff. The staff didn't vote for you. We did. We want you to come listen to us and respond with action. And unfortunately, that staff has been conditioned to listen to the board members, city council, conditioned to listen to that staff and what they have to say, forgetting or not keeping at the forefront of their minds, they work for the mayor. They're not going to do what we want. They work for her. We want the people that works for us, that's hired by us in a vote. We want you to act like you work for us. We want you to be committed to work for us.
Okay, we're gonna be wrapping
That's what
up
we
because
want.
we've gone on like 5 minutes beyond an hour. I knew it was gonna be an hour long situation with all the
Well,
videos and clips and everything and the commentary. But look, right before, and I'll give you Akila and Connie, say whatever you need to say to wrap up before I
well, let me just say this: the energy that the city council board has when it hears presentations from the downtown district, from the Strass Center, from all of the money makers of this city, that energy that they have to follow through on the issues that's going to improve the quality of life for that particular block of people, we want them to have toward us. Now, that's an ask. But then on my part as an activist, my job is to educate our community to ensure that in our asking for justice and economic rights, that if they do not deliver, then politically we use our power to eliminate that from our ability to seek them in our representation when it has not been there. So we got a lot of work to do for 2026.
We ready, Miss Connie.
Before you say what you need to say, Keila, I'm going to show one more link or video clip of Citro at TN Conversation talking about preemption and how bad it was and how it ties their hands or undoes what locally they do.
Everybody, my name is Joseph Citro. I am your city councilman, District 1, which is citywide. Again, as commissioners explained, we have 4, which is north, south, east, and west city councilmen, and we have 3 at large. My district is the whole city. Is there any people that are going to run in this room that are wanting to run for state senate or state house? Please raise your hands. Got one? Please. Fight preemption to your very last breath. What Commissioner Smith was telling was true. The city of Tampa is being preempted on our trees. We're being preempted on apprenticeship programs. We're being preempted on what we can do for affordable housing. Because our legislation is dictating to us what we can and cannot do. And that's wrong. Please fight that with every breath you have.
You know what, Citro? If you catch this, you happen to stumble upon this broadcast, you made a promise publicly, and you had Mr. Braxton next to you for a political promo, and you said that he was going to have his roof fixed, and he was going to get some of those CRA monies. You went on TN Conversation or at TN Conversation and repeated that what you said at the press conference. So you know what? You need to fight to your last breath to make sure that this promise that you made, that it came out of your mouth, is fulfilled for Mr. Braxton. Because if you don't put any effort or any time in doing that, you know what? That is wrong. That is wrong.
And that's wrong. Please fight that with every breath you have.
That is wrong, Joe. So please fight that with to your last breath. Keila, what do you have last to say? And then
I'm so ready for Miss Connie to prep us. I'm so ready for Miss Connie to prep us for how we gonna engage with them different and making them. I'm talking about feet to the fire, foot on their neck. You won't get another nothing in Tampa or Florida for the most part. She gonna show us how to be engaged. So I'm hoping, since they did update me, the administration made sure I knew that Mr. Braxton was in the process for a replacement home. I plan on helping y'all stay up to date on that because I am going to follow through. Every time I requested each quarter, they gave me an update, which was we waiting on it. Now I have the update that he's in the replacement program. Moving forward, some of the city council members have been a part of trying to figure out what to do in East Tampa. There's quite a few initiatives, but I'm trying to not say it till something happens because, I don't want to wait 2 years again, 2 more years on some of the progress. So I will say that there is some hope in terms of an economic impact in East Tampa regarding some of the projects, working with some of the individuals that live and have owned land there. So I'm looking forward to that. But we're not accepting what we've accepted for the last 20 years. We're in Florida, where Forbes announced that we're one of the greatest cities to live. We expect all of Tampa to be a part of that greatness. Otherwise, somebody's going to have to give an explanation as to why. We want to totally make everybody accountable for what Tampa as a whole looks like, because it's a great city. We need to play on that. No area should be as marginalized as East Tampa and Sulphur Springs and some of the other areas of Tampa is. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for this opportunity. Ms. Connie, I can't wait. I don't know when the first engagement meeting gonna be, but let us know because we ready for what you just said. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
we are.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for those who tuned in. The Florida U Judge, Haiti Oropesa with Florida U Judge. Thanks, Connie, for coming on again. And I know you'll be back. And Keila, yeah, I think it's a little suspect that a replacement program offer was made right on the heels of the Spectrum News 2-year follow-up on where's the money that
Right.
was promised to this guy. So I want to know, and we're gonna continue to remind them. Hopefully that's not another broken promise. Everyone have a great rest of your day. Florida U Judge. Till next time.